You know that teenager who just stopped fighting? The one who used to argue everything, every rule, every curfew, every because I said so, slammed doors, long silences. The back and forth that felt like it would never end. And then one day, it did. They settled, and something in you relaxed. That calm you've been sitting with, it might not mean what you think it means. But going quiet is one of two things, and by the end of this, you'll know exactly which one you're looking at. You're not overreacting, you're not being paranoid, but what you're picking up on underneath that quiet is one of the least talked about patterns in adolescent psychology. And once you understand what's driving it, the way you see your teenager will change. Here's what almost everyone gets wrong about teen rebellion. We treat it like a problem, something to survive, manage, get to the other side of. You've had the arguments that start about homework and end somewhere neither of you can explain. But developmental psychologists have known for decades that rebellion, in healthy doses, is not a malfunction, it's a signal. It means your teenager is still in the relationship, still testing you, still asserting that they exist as a separate person with opinions and limits and needs. The teenager who fights with you is a teenager who still believes the fight is worth having. Here's the psychology underneath that. Adolescence is, at its core, the developmental work of individuation. That's the process by which your teenager builds a self that is distinct from you. Psychologist Peter Bloss, who published On Adolescence in 1962, described this as the second separation individuation process. The first happened in toddlerhood. Your 2-year-old saying no to everything wasn't defiance. That was developmental work. The teen years, according to Bloss, are supposed to look a lot like the first. Disagreement is developmental. Resistance is developmental. Translation: your teenager pushing back on you is a sign the relationship is still working. Picture this. Your teenager walks through the door after school. You ask how their day was. They say, fine, and something in that fine lands differently than it used to. You can't explain it, but your nervous system has already clocked it. That unease you're feeling, it's paying attention to something real. But here's where it gets more complicated. When a teenager stops rebelling, not because they've genuinely matured, but because they've concluded that pushing back doesn't work, something very different is happening. Psychologists call this learned compliance. It develops when a teenager repeatedly finds that expressing their feelings leads to outcomes that feel worse than staying silent. Maybe the pushback was met with escalating conflict. Maybe it was dismissed. Maybe they tried to bring their real feelings into the room, and what came back wasn't what they needed. Over time, their nervous system does the math. The cost of resistance is higher than the cost of compliance, and they stop. Not because they agree with you or because they've outgrown the need to push back. They've quietly concluded that their inner world is safer kept hidden. Judith Smetana, a developmental psychologist at the University of Rochester who spent more than 2 decades studying adolescent autonomy within the parent relationship, found this consistently. Adolescents who stopped expressing disagreement openly didn't become less distressed, they became less visible. Translation: silence doesn't mean peace, it means the distress went underground. The research published in the Journal of Research on Adolescence in 2021 confirmed it. Teenagers who suppressed emotional expression within the parent relationship showed significantly higher rates of anxiety and depression, not lower. And there's another layer. The fighting you were relieved to lose, it was information. Every argument your teenager picked with you was, in some sense, them saying the same thing. I'm still here. I still think you're worth arguing with. I still believe this relationship can hold my full weight. When that stops, not gradually, not as part of a visible shift toward maturity, but suddenly and completely, what can be happening is that your teenager has quietly decided the relationship can't hold it anymore. Your teenager is simultaneously the most present they've ever been and the most unreachable. Physically in your house, emotionally, somewhere you can't quite reach. Because you're locked together in an instinctive push-pull that is supposed to be uncomfortable. You push back, your teen pushes harder, you adjust. That friction is how they learn where the edges are, It's also how you learn who they're becoming. In its strange way, it is a form of intimacy. The relationship is working precisely because it's uncomfortable. When that friction disappears prematurely, not because your teenager has found themselves, but because they've given up on being found, both of you lose something real. Your teenager loses the arena, you lose the signal. The relationship goes quiet, and quiet is very easy to mistake for fine. Not every calm teenager is a disconnected one. Some teenagers genuinely do reach a point of greater emotional regulation. They find other outlets, friends, creative work, sport. The parent relationship becomes one of many rather than the central one. That is healthy development. The difference is in the quality of the quiet. Healthy maturation comes with moments of genuine connection, conversations that go somewhere, shared humor, the occasional glimpse of who they're becoming. Learned compliance looks more like absence. Present, but not really there. Agreeable, but unreachable. If you're not sure which one you're looking at, that uncertainty itself is worth paying attention to. Try to sit inside your teenager's experience for a moment. They've been pushing, arguing their case, testing the limits. At some point, something in that process stopped feeling like it was working. They felt like they were never heard, or that the relationship couldn't survive their full honesty. Or they brought their real self into the room, and what came back wasn't what they needed. So they made a quiet decision. They didn't announce it. There was no dramatic scene. They just stopped bringing it. That is a kind of loneliness that is very hard to name when you're 15. And it's worth knowing that your teenager probably isn't angry at you for it. They're just protecting themselves the only way they figured out how. There's a name for what's happening here. Psychologists call it relational withdrawal. Not emotional shutdown, not distance for its own sake. Relational withdrawal is what happens when someone stops bringing their authentic self into a relationship, not because they've left, but because they've calculated that the risk of being fully present is too high. Gordon Neufeld, developmental psychologist and co-author of Hold On to Your Kids, published in 2004, put it plainly. When a child stops fighting you, it doesn't always mean they've found peace. Sometimes it means they've found a way to live without you. Your teenager hasn't stopped needing you, they've stopped risking you. That's not a door that's locked, it's a door that's closed. And closed doors, unlike locked ones, can be opened when the person on the other side believes what's waiting is safe enough to walk back into. You spent years wanting the fighting to stop, and when it did, it felt like relief. The conflict was real. The exhaustion was real. Wanting it to end was entirely human. But now you're watching a teenager who is agreeable and distant and harder to reach than they were when they pushed back every single day. And something in you knows that isn't the peace you were hoping for. That feeling is the answer to the question you've been sitting with. The relationship isn't lost. Your teenager isn't gone. They're just waiting to see if it's still safe to come back. If this resonated, subscribe. I put out videos like this every week. And if you want to support these deep dives, becoming a channel member genuinely helps and means a lot. Next up, the teens who pretend everything is fine, not just to their parents, to everyone. What that actually looks like from the inside and what's driving it underneath. I'll see you there.